Deep in the Amazon, explorers just ruined the best game of hide-and-seek in history. They stumbled across a 500-pound snake snoozing in the mud, convinced its disguise was perfect. At first glance, it looked like a famous green anaconda, and then the lab tests came back. The massive predator turned out to be one of the largest snakes in the world, and a brand new species undiscovered for millions of years. The Amazon is one of the most unwelcoming places on the planet. It's like a video game setting where everything is trying to get you. You've got frogs that sweat neurotoxins, ants with stings that feel like getting shot, and electric eels that can tase you if you get too close. And that's just the start. But the real kings of the jungle are anacondas. They are the ones handing out the strongest hugs in the animal kingdom. They grow up to 15 feet and are heavy enough to rock a boat. An anaconda can squeeze about 30 times harder than a human hand and move its body of 400 pounds in a split second. That's why people don't casually swim here. However, nature decided that wasn't scary enough, and a recent expedition in Ecuador found an even bigger specimen. It was part of the National Geographic shoot for a show about extreme places, starring Will Smith. The team followed the local Guarani guides deep into the Bameno territory, a secluded area where they insisted the real giants lived. They weren't lying. On the riverbank was an unusually large female serpent. They named her Ana Julia. She was nearly 21 feet and weighing around 440 pounds. That's the weight of an adult grizzly bear. She stretched nearly to the NBA three-point line, but her weight was what made her unique. Most of us imagine snakes as long, thin garden hoses, but Ana Julia was wider than a human waist. There are a couple of reasons why snakes can get so huge. The river supports a lot of their weight, so they're not hauling huge bodies over land all day. They also don't spend a lot of calories chasing capybaras for miles. When they're hunting, they can set an ambush and wait for hours. Their eyes and nostrils sit on top of their heads, so they can stay almost fully underwater and still watch and breathe. Anacondas can also dive. They're able to close the nostrils like valves and stay underwater for almost 20 minutes. They blend in so well that a thirsty deer could be drinking inches away from a snout without even realizing it. When they're resting, they can stay in one spot for more than a day. And because they're snakes, they can eat one massive meal and just doze off for a while. We know the snake is a she because, among anacondas, it's the females that grow this big. This is because of a genetic evolutionary phenomenon called sexual dimorphism. The males are puny in comparison, barely reaching 9 feet. Nature gave the ladies supersized bodies because carrying dozens of baby snakes takes a massive amount of energy and storage space. And anacondas don't lay eggs like most snakes. They give birth to live young, sometimes around 40 at a time. Snakes can keep growing slowly for much of their lives, so reaching Ana Julia's size means she's likely a long-surviving elder, possibly even decades old. We can't really tell the age of a snake. They shed their skin, and that isn't something that can be shown on a blood test. However, what really mattered was the DNA test that showed that Ana Julia wasn't actually the green anaconda. The DNA difference was a massive 5.5%. That sounds small, but in genetics, it's huge. Humans and chimps only differ by about 1%, so these two snakes are 5 times more different from each other than we are from chimps. Scientists call this a cryptic species. It's a phenomenon where animals look like identical twins on the outside, but are total strangers on the genetic level. Some examples you might not be aware of are giraffes. To us, they all look the same, but genetics shows there are several different species. While scientists were surprised by the DNA results of the big snake, the local Guarani guides were not. In fact, they said Ana Julia wasn't even the biggest one out there. They reported seeing anacondas up to about 25 feet. If one giant twin went undiscovered, there are probably even bigger ones. However, even a 25-foot anaconda is like a shoelace compared to what used to live here. If we turn back the clock about 60 million years, the Amazon had monsters twice as long. This is the Titan boa, Fossils found in a coal mine in Colombia suggest that the snake stretched between 42 and 50 feet. The creature was long but also unbelievably heavy. While our modern record breaker Ana Julia weighed 440 pounds, Titan boa tipped the scales at 1.25 tons. That's 2,500 pounds of weight with a 3-foot wide body. A snake as heavy as an average walrus, but much, much stronger. So, what caused those creatures to grow so large? The answer is heat. Reptiles are cold-blooded, meaning their bodies don't create their own temperature. They depend on the environment outside. Back then, the tropics were warmer than today. In that kind of constant heat, a giant snake doesn't burn energy just trying to stay alive. It can grow larger and stay active more easily. Titan boa was probably the greatest wrestler of the prehistoric world. It didn't have venom, only its mighty squeeze. Researchers estimate it could reach 5 times the squeezing power of the modern green anaconda, which is already strong enough to lock down big prey. It had to be that strong because its favorite snack was giant turtles with thick shells. Was it strong enough to take down a T-Rex? That would be a cool fight, but impossible. Titan boa lived millions of years after the non-bird dinosaurs were gone, so they never met. Ancient oceans were home to some gigantic marine snakes. One of the biggest known examples is from a group called Paleophis. Fossils show that some of those sea snakes could grow just as big as Titan boa, around 40 feet. They were nothing like the small, colorful snakes we see today, hiding in coral reefs. The largest ocean snakes alive now, like olive snakes, usually reach only about 6 feet. Paleophis had long, heavy bodies built for warm, shallow seas. Instead of weaving through coral, they likely cruised along coastlines and continental shelves, moving through open water. When you were big, you need big meals, so these snakes were hunting primitive sharks and massive fish. They were also built differently from land snakes. Their bodies were flattened on the sides to cut through the current, and their tails ended in wide paddles to push them forward. Today, those ocean giants are gone, but their distant cousins are still patrolling the water. Modern sea snakes are usually no bigger than a broomstick, but they traded size for a different kind of weapon: venom. Some of them, like the faint-banded sea snake, have venom that is 100 times more toxic than a cobra's. Speaking of venom, the Amazon is full of it. It's home to over a dozen types of dangerous pit vipers like the bushmaster. There's also the Brazilian wandering spider, which is one of the most toxic spiders on Earth. Not to mention the Amazonian scorpion. So the question is, what if some of these also have bigger and meaner cousins, just like the green anaconda and its newly discovered northern cousin? If a 500-pound snake had a hidden twin species, who knows what else is hiding out there? Maybe that spider has a cousin with completely different superpowers. Maybe there's a type of caiman we haven't even identified yet. The only thing we know for sure is that the locals swear there are even bigger snakes than Ana Julia. So we're probably not far from learning about the next record breaker.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.